What I have lived is that the key to life beyond trauma of the abuse of our bodies, of our sex, is a very basic decision. And if your identity now, you choose to make your identity a lover of your fellow man and woman, then you will find the ability to turn your pain into your superpower. So powerful that the medical predators that prey on and abuse children with these mistreatments fear you more than anybody else. That's why they want to destroy you. Do not waste your pain. All right, well, you've heard who I am. I'm Vernadette Broyles. I'm the President and General Counsel of the Child Parental Rights Campaign. I am an attorney. And I have had the privilege of holding many of your stories. I recognize many of you here in the audience. Kira, it's so good to see you in person. And I've had the honor of being able to deploy your stories as powerful weapons and powerful legal battles to do good. The U.S. versus Committee case, Missouri's No versus Parson, the Alabama Bowe versus Marshall case, the Florida Licensing Board that changed their standards to make these treatments to be considered unethical. 9 of you, we brought, Camille, it was great to see you there, and it's great to see you now, we brought there. However, I'm not here today uncharacteristically to expound on the law or these legal battles. I'm here instead to talk about life beyond trauma. And so because your stories have meant so much in this fight, I'm here now to tell you a story. It's a story of a young girl. Her innocence was stolen around age 5 in a place that should have been safe for her, in her home, by a trusted person, an adult, an older person that should have protected her, an older extended family member. Her physical and sexual boundaries were violated. And to this little girl, her sex became a liability, a cause for pain. But there was no one she could confide in. Quite frankly, because the very trusted nature of the perpetrator made it impossible to be able to share what was happening to her. And so she began to feel a profound sense of isolation, of being unsafe and alone. And I know many of you here know precisely what I'm talking about. And then the young girl grew into a teen. And as is so often in these cases, there's something about sexual brokenness that seems to attract the predators. They just kind of know who you are. They just, I don't know, there's an antenna for it. And as the young girl went to high school, a trusted 42-year-old teacher took advantage of that brokenness and violated all professional ethics and sexual boundaries. There's actually a legal term, it's called statutory rape. And yet another place that should have been safe, her school, she spent all day, became a place of profound violation by yet another trusted authority figure because of her sex. And as a young woman, as the girl grew and became a young woman, she began to recognize how deeply wrong was the manner in which were these violations that actually went on for years. And so she filed a Title IX complaint in the school concerning this authority figure. The school board held a hearing, an evidentiary hearing, even assigned a attorney to represent her, called witnesses. But the school board, whether because they didn't believe her or probably more likely, recognized the huge liability, decided not to hold the perpetrator accountable. He continued to teach. By this point, multiple layers of trauma had set in. The young girl began to feel like womanhood, her very sex, was a curse. And she believed that she was broken beyond repair. And the systems that were supposed to protect her were also broken. And the sense of pain, lost innocence, isolation, injustice became overwhelming. So much so that she began to contemplate an exit strategy. So why am I sharing this with you today? Because I know that many of you in this room have experienced the deep trauma because an authority figure that you should have been able to trust violated your sexual boundaries. And like your doctor, your mental health professional, your therapist. Because I know that many of you in this room experienced trauma in a place that should have been safe for you, your doctor's office, your therapist room. But it turned out to be the very place of your betrayal. And because I believe that telling a girl that she's been born in the wrong body and convincing her to reject her own sex and do harm against her own body is the greatest rape of all. But I am really here to talk about life beyond trauma. So I'm here to tell you that trauma is not the end of your story. It wasn't the end of mine, by the way. That little girl was me. What I have lived is that the key to life beyond trauma, of the abuse of our bodies, of our sex, is a very basic decision. It is a decision to simply refuse to allow pain to become your lifelong prison. It is the decision instead to allow your pain to become your superpower. Today, my former pain, which at times I still feel, of multiple abuse and systemic failure, fuels the woman that stands before you, the warrior that stands before you. No longer the broken little girl or young woman. My pain fueled my decision to go to law school, to go to Harvard Law School, go big or go home. To become a warrior for justice, a voice for the voiceless. My pain fueled my forming the Child Parental Rights Campaign 7 years ago. Ooh, have I lost? Okay, thank you. My pain fueled our bringing 6 federal lawsuits, including 2 that are pending before the United States Supreme Court. It fueled my clients, Sage and Michelle Blair, being recently recognized by the President of the United States at the State of the Union, and last year, January Littlejohn by the President again. My pain fueled representing Game Changer, the honor of my life, Game Changer whistleblower Jamie Reed. It fueled working with the state of Tennessee on the case of U.S. versus Scarametti, and Alabama, and the Boe versus Marshall case, and Missouri, and Kentucky, and Oklahoma, and Montana, and all these cases in which we fought and we upheld the right of states to protect their children from these horrible mistreatments. My pain fueled defending parents in family courts, in juvenile courts, against child protective services that remove children, confused children from their parents. And it's now representing the first women collegiate coach in the first lawsuit against a school for allowing males into our spaces and into our sports, and much more. But my story would not be complete if I failed to share that's central to my healing from this trauma and my ability to make the decision to repurpose my pain was the love of God. The healing love of Jesus. And so you see that detransitioning, in quotes, to a life beyond trauma is about transitioning from believing lies to living in the truth. And you saw that so beautifully, and you're going to see that all day. The truth is that while it must be acknowledged and dealt with, that trauma need not become your tower of isolation. The truth is that you're not too broken to make a powerful difference, or as Laura said, to forgive yourself. The truth, in fact, is that you are a powerful person. So powerful you changed the law of England. So powerful that the medical predators that prey on and abuse children with these mistreatments fear you more than anybody else. That's why they want to destroy you. It was your voices, your stories, that of Walt Heyer. He's not here. I don't see Papa Walt. But it was the stories of Walt Heyer that I read 7 years ago and other stories of detransitioners that compelled me to shut down my private practice and to form Child Parental Rights Campaign. And so therefore, every case and every victory and every policy change and every legal change that we accomplish is credited to you, is in your bank account. And in each of these mistreatment ban cases, whether it be Scarametti or Marshall or all of the rest of them, the Florida Board of Education, I believe it was your voices that was the margin of victory. So, evil did not know the mistake it made when it targeted my innocence. And you're going to hear from my best friend, Erin Friday, later on today. And evil did not know when he targeted her daughter because he turned us into his greatest nightmare. And part of living beyond the trauma is to refuse to live as the perpetual victim of evil. But rather is to make you subservient to your pain. Instead, however, it is to choose to become evil's worst nightmare. Living beyond the trauma is to choose to rise above and allow your pain to serve, and to fuel you. For you to go from a victim to a victor. So, there are some things you may never get back. You may not get back your voice. You may not get back certain body parts. You may not get back your full sexual health. Just as I will not get back my innocence, or my childhood, or my adolescence. However, but you can take back your life. What you can take back in your life beyond trauma is what you use your trauma for, how you use your trauma, what you do with your trauma. Because that choice is linked to your true identity. Because I believe that your identity was not given to you by man. It was given to you by God, who made you perfectly, just the way you are. And so man cannot take it away from you. And if your identity now, you choose to make your identity a lover of your fellow man and woman or woman, then you will find the ability to turn your pain into your superpower, to serve and protect others. Do not waste your pain. It was hard fought. It was hard received. Do not waste it. But if you use it to serve others, this will set the stage for life, not just after trauma, but literally empowered by your trauma. Thank you.